We certainly do. All right, well, welcome to the October meeting of the Metro North Bureau Community Council. Laura and I are here, and Francis is on the phone. And so we'll just make a move that we accept the agenda for today.
I move.
Second that.
All right, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, the minutes were, I guess, distributed?
Yes.
Okay, any changes, to the minutes?
Not.
Move the,
Can we accept the minutes as presented?
second. Favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right, so you did send me the chair's report. You have a printed copy?
Sure. So, we are joined.
Oh, that's Richard. All right.
No, there's my printed. No, I'll go get a printed copy.
No, I have it.
Okay. How are you?
Pretty good yourself.
Good, thank you.
Is the minutes not different, right?
Yeah.
The minutes are different.
Correct.
Chair's report, here we go. Okay, so here we go. Welcome to the meetings. All right, so on September 11th, I rode the M9 inaugural train between Jamaica and Hunters Point. It was a very interesting ride. I shared, I think, my pictures with you guys. And then we had, the Metro North connects with us. So I went on the 17th of September up to Ossining, and it was very good. You know, a lot of the people really are not interested in stopping to chat because they've gotten off the ferry or they've been dropped off and they're running down the platform to get the train. So we did get a couple of good comments that the staff accepted. I went yesterday morning at Old Dark 100 up to Mount Kisco, and I was there for that event. And most of the people responded favorably to the service. There was one woman who was yelling at us as she ran away. "I don't care if it's 5 minutes and 59 seconds. Your trains are always late." And another guy complained about how much longer it took the summit to get to where he needed to go. And one of the members of the staff explained that there was a lot of track work underway and that's over right now. I also went in very early in the morning to Naniwa train station and distributed the flyers for the surveys rather. And I gave out more than the other people did who were supposed to be paying it, but I know the people and I'm older and I managed to coerce them to take nicely to take the surveys and respond, and it was done.
You have a kindly face.
We at the same time we have many questions and those are where the funds will be used for the capital program. Is that where we're on this one? Yeah. So there was a lot of. The meeting was exceptionally long. It was close to 4 hours. Board meeting, and there were over 52 public speakers.
Wow.
And it's
The majority of whom were,
opposed.
well, not just, there were also many people who were there to speak about union issues.
Oh there was
Oh,
a
wow.
rather nasty response from some of the TWU, personal attacks on members by the TWU members, which is not right. Says here new rolling stock. Well, it was supposed to be M9As for Metro North, but last year the request was made by the Metro North staff to cancel that and instead purchase dual mode locomotives for the diesel service, and it was approved. So I haven't heard anything about who got the contract. I don't even think it was awarded yet, but I will see everybody next week and I will find out. Talking about Omni, I was in a test program for a couple of months until I ran out of money on the card they gave me. And you're still using
I ran out of money before the test was over.
Oh, okay.
I loved it.
Yeah, they were going to give me some more. I said, you know what, that's fine. I can swipe it.
I was gonna get more, but then they said that they were no longer giving additional money.
Oh, okay.
You don't pay anyway, so.
I know.
No benefit
I
to you for
know.
that.
Well, just being part of the test program.
No, no, I
Because I
know.
was part of the other program for
I
the
know that. I'm saying
original
running out of money,
Metro
you
card.
got your own,
Right, but you can't, if you wanna use this, if you wanna do the tap and go system, you have to pay.
yeah, no, I know
So,
that, I'm just
yeah.
saying, he doesn't pay anyway.
Well, the card was loaded with $5 and each one was charged 25 cents each trip.
Huh, for the test.
Yeah,
Right.
it wasn't coming out of my money.
No, no, I know
Yeah,
that, but, I wasn't picking on you.
Making, the Metro North will make accessible the Ludlow Station Hudson line, as well as 3 stations on the Harlem line. And there's money in there for Penn Access, we'll bring New Haven trains into new Penn Station. Cheap transportation, so yeah, we had all right, so the last thing here, it says that the meeting is on November the 14th, is our next meeting. So, we are,
Which is the same day as the board meeting.
is it?
Is that all right? Randy?
Yeah,
Well,
the only thing,
I wouldn't
That's
guarantee
right.
that the financial
Yeah.
plan and that all of the
Could be a big
testimony
one.
is gonna end. So that, when that was written, that was our understanding,
Yeah.
however, that has changed
yeah,
since then.
they moved the meeting 1 week earlier than we would have normally figured it would be.
And I'm wondering if it's because they need 60 days between the November and the December meeting for an action, or for some kind of public, something for the budget.
I don't have a problem with it being the same day, it's probably just indeterminate what time we would be able to start.
I think it would be safe to say 2. But that might not even be true, because there
Yeah.
have been days when
I'm
it's
thinking
been,
it's more of a 4:30.
yeah, could be.
Because it's so active now that it may not turn out to be that, but so that it's not juggling at the last minute.
Right, do you wanna do it on a different day?
I just do a different day and make it easier.
So the 11th is
It's
Veterans Day.
it's your call.
The problem is, I guess we could do it on the 13th, I have a medical appointment in the morning, but I could do it on the 13th, like 1 o'clock, or 1 o'clock.
Does that work?
Because the 12th is the committee meetings, the 14th is the board meetings. I'm even available on Friday the 15th.
That is whatever works for you.
Is there a night?
There's a, there you,
Oh, in there, okay.
yes, there is a. So November 13th? At what time?
November.
Yeah, the 13th, 12 noon.
Is 12 noon work with your doctor's appointment?
Yeah, it's at 9 o'clock in the morning. And then actually, no, make it 1 o'clock.
1 o'clock.
Yeah, make it 1 o'clock.
November 13th at 1?
Yeah.
Okay.
Let me make the change here.
Oh,
1 day earlier, 1 hour later. That was simple. Okay.
Okay, 1 day earlier.
That's 3 days in a row I come to the door. It's all right.
Oh, my phone thought it was in Texas for a while, so it changed the times of all of my meetings.
oh, but didn't self-adjust when you returned?
Okay, good.
Make this one over here. Okay. All right, so we take the chair's report. All right, so we had a board briefing on Tuesday, and they talked, a lot of time was spent on the paratransit service, how expensive it is, how costly it is, yes.
Do you think that's in anticipation of them making changes to the program?
Yeah, they're looking to make some changes, like to reduce the number of, the e-hail, reduce the number of trips that they could do in a month. They know how many the average number is. And, once the people have reached that limit, if they do that, they'll have to go to the 24-hour, 48-hour thing. but it's not, nothing is engraved in stone yet.
That's gonna be a big problem.
And then they're getting new vehicles in.
May I ask if they're gonna make that announcement at the,
I don't know. I don't think they have to do it yet. It might be November or December.
When would it go into effect?
Probably next year.
So like first of the year?
You know, it's not decided yet, so.
Yeah.
We also talked about the rate of reimbursement from the city.
Mm.
City was paying a certain amount, and so nobody seemed to know, if this thing is like negotiable or anything. So I asked the question, and I asked Tom Quigley to look into it, and he said he would. Larry Schwartz seemed to have a lot of information about how the program was set up, but not all of the details. So they were looking to find out if they could switch some of the people to Medicaid who are receiving it, but then they found out they're not allowed to ask people those kind of questions.
right.
So they have to find a different way of getting it.
Was this in the context of the,
Funding, find the funding.
funding, so this is part of the November plan,
Probably,
or the
you know.
November,
Right.
the plan release in November.
Yeah.
And we talked about the congestion pricing. They have all of their, the goals met so far for what they needed to do. They have an excellent working relationship with the city, thanks to Polly. And every single thing they needed to do, according to, it's been on schedule and working fine. And they have contractors, but they're not giving the names of the people who are, and they described the different plans.
I understand that somebody was hired,
Yeah.
internally, who's the liaison or who's in charge of that,
Well, they're still interviewing people for these top jobs.
for congestion pricing? At
No,
bridges
for
and
the
tunnels, is what I-
transformation and
Right,
that kind of stuff. We'll find out eventually. I went through the mention notebook and quickly, there really isn't anything that exciting that's being approved at the meeting this week, next week. So that's all I have. I'll pass it over to you for membership update.
I wonder, it might be interesting looking at, because it was something that Charles Mergler always paid attention to and thinking, especially in light of department, how many contracts are sole contracts versus competitive bid? If any of the contracts coming up are not competitive bids. It's worth noting what industries are lacking in competitive bidding coming forward.
So Lisa, this is broad-based for the Metro North with all vendors kind of thing, is that what it is?
So that was, Ellen was suggesting we do that, but, I think look across all the agencies,
All the
right?
agencies, yeah.
Oh, gotcha,
Because,
okay.
yeah, that's the concern about debarment, and do you see a drop that some industries you're seeing a bigger drop than others, or?
Okay, good.
Well, the department thing came up with the PGC. And they had a resolution, it's resolved, it just needs board approval, which should come next Wednesday.
Will that come
So the
in
ball-
executive section or in?
No, I think it's public.
Okay.
No, it's gonna be, it should be in the board book. I didn't look for it, I don't even know where it would be. Well, I can look for it later.
But we understand that the department regs as a larger concept will not be taken up until possibly next month, right?
And they keep extending the emergency part of it,
Right.
and then 90 days or whatever it is.
Well, so department has reached, has piqued a lot of interest. I mean, we've certainly been talking about it since the emergency order was signed and dated retroactively. But a number of other advocacy groups, particularly Reinvent Albany, who's concerned about process. The conversations that we have individually, it's PCAC, and as we have collectively with other advocates, it's something that continues to come up as to whether, about ways to determine whether it needs a legislative fix or if that can be done internally by the MTA. What some of those changes might be and how to sort of get it on people's radar before it has a negative effect on the capital program and increasing costs and reducing competition. So that's part of the conversation that I had today.
Well, one of my friends that I ran into recently told me that he had seen my name in Newsweek. So I did a quick search and it was comments that I had made against
At the
the
board.
department thing at the board meeting that were in this Newsweek article.
That's great.
Newsday, yeah,
Newsday.
Newsday.
Tuesday, right.
Okay, so we're gonna hear about membership update.
So Lisa, on that, so how is, like, what's the point on that? Is that PCAC or is that the advocacy groups that are the point? Who sort of takes that in?
We are doing it individually,
Yeah,
we're dual tracking it.
Good.
We, agree with the intent that contracts should be adhered to by both parties. That that costs need to be held down, that delays need to be eliminated as possible, and that accountability is key. I think the concerns we have is that there's automatic debarment, that it's retroactive, and that there's not a opportunity to cure before this goes into play. So we're approaching it from sort of the individual and collective route, and continuing to discuss it. At the board and committee meetings, they prefer that you speak to something that's on the agenda. That doesn't necessarily mean that we always do, because it should be on the agenda, even if it isn't. And so.
They're not gonna stop you.
Right.
Well, and in contracting is always on the agenda, and so
Right, so,
there are ways.
it's it's an issue that we've also tried to raise some interest with in the press. It's a little wonky, but it really isn't, until you're able to show that there are a number of people who are not participating in the contracting process, or that it costs more. Because of these regs, it's sort of all theoretical, so.
Is this an IG issue?
I don't believe so, I think it's contract management. And that there, does it make sense to have protections in place? Yeah, I believe so, but, I mean, if, according to these regulations, Siemens and Bombardier would have been debarred, not allowed to, they would have to stop work immediately.
We wouldn't be running any trains in 2021.
Right, positive train control would be on hold. And the MTA would be facing $27,000 a day per train car fines for not meeting the goals. And I think that was a little bit of a wake-up call, to show that there needs to be some flexibility and some workability. And as we see by the solution or the resolution that's been reached, but it's not where it started at the end, and then had to quickly play catch-up. So there was some vocalization at one of the recent board meetings and committee meetings that that companies should be debarred, that those guys should be debarred, it should be immediate, and why are they still doing business? And Randy said, can we not make this the test case? This is too important to just stop all the work. Cooler heads prevailed. So, but it has been an issue, but there's been a dual issue of, the contractors aren't the only ones who are delaying projects. So since there's been a big change in the way that construction is being done, and procurement, and all of the efforts toward that have been made, and achievements that have been made to under Jenna's watch, we're seeing a reduction in the number of hands a change order has to touch, but it could still be 20 instead of 96. So that's, it's a larger process question too. One of the other significant questions is, for existing contracts, how do you go back and have all of these existing contracts under this regulation that didn't exist when they were made.
Mhm.
And that's been, you know, what a lot of the contracting community has said, but also sort of the good government groups. So it's, you know, we put it on the legislative table for people, you know, what does it need to fix this? And it may be as simple as, because they're under emergency regulations, as the MTA coming forward with rules, at which time my understanding is a public comment period would open public hearings, and then the rules would be put into place. So, you know, there's speculation as to why it hasn't gone into effect, but nobody knows. We just know that nobody's actually been debarred at this point.
Well, last month, Lisa, I was at the Chapman Center for this governor's
Yeah.
event, and one of the contractors I spoke with, he says, there was a bid opening this week, and nobody was there to bid on it.
Well, that's what, I sort of wonder, it's not at the point where the IG would get involved yet, but some oversight as to who's not bidding on projects, what projects are they really having a hard time, you know, getting somebody to do something. And understanding, is it an industry weakness, is it the department, is it, because the concern that, 54 billion and how can they do that?
Right.
Is partially an industry
Yep.
question.
And the regulations were signed during a non-public meeting. And they were, Politico sort of disclosed them in a press briefing, a press article. We had written a letter, which we did not share with Politico, but which was shared with Politico. And so, I mean, in my mind, that's how the whole thing got out. So, you know, we're gonna roll on that, but we're gonna keep our eyes on it. As far as member update,
Yes.
so we have 5 members, applications sitting in Albany. With no new progress to report. As recently as yesterday, I reached out again to ask if we could get some input into, you know, take me through a step-by-step again of what the process is, what the requirements are.
And when do they actually go up, like how, what's the timeline now that they've been sitting up there for? Roughly.
They went up and, I have to look back,
So,
This year.
since earlier this year.
earlier.
Some of them went back
No, I
earlier.
think they went back to 2018
Yeah,
is the thing, is that we're now starting to talk in terms of years.
Not these new ones.
No, but
Let's see.
and the whole paper trail of that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it goes back many months. I can't really look on my phone, it doesn't like
that's,
that.
yeah, don't worry about it, but it's,
But we've also asked that the information about the meetings be shared with the candidates so that they can participate.
And Walter Zulik, who's a proposed candidate from Westchester, lives in Austining, said he did receive the notification.
Yeah.
So your friends there aren't doing
Right.
something to do.
Right, so, so we're gonna, one of the other conversations that we are having with some of the electeds with whom we meet is asking them to help us streamline this process. There's gotta be some way to make it work. We need members, we need a pipeline for members, we're hungry and
Yeah,
hurting.
it's a lot, big ask for people to wait and, you know. They truly have to be dedicated and really wanna
Yeah.
do it.
Yeah.
For no money, on their time, and it should be a seamless
well,
process.
and along those lines, wondering if in Albany, in the Senate or the Assembly, if there aren't appointments that group really watches, that, you know, to try and usher them through, and if there's somebody on there that knows how to get it done.
Well, I mean, the thing is that the person from Westchester County used to work in that office.
And Thanks.
From going home? McDonald's.
No, Emily Saltzman.
Oh,
And still doesn't have the ability to make them.
Move it.
In fact, we sent the applications, yeah, we sent copies of the applications to the governor's office. And when I called initially, they still hadn't received the counties. So
But
ours got there faster.
But does like a call from the Transportation Authorities Committee help? Do calls from different bodies?
It's the process.
Right, but not
That's-
everybody, yeah, but they don't do the process for some people.
But the
really.
transportation committee, they're not their candidates.
No, they're not, but they can still, the legislation created us so they can have a
That's
vested
the public
interest.
authority side.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they could ask, but
Transportation Committee, you know,
you could
just
ask
the
them
various, having those bodies weigh in to say, you know,
it would be helpful of the appointing electeds, but also weigh in. It's obviously not their priority, so we have to elevate it as a priority to ensure that it does move forward. But I will pursue with Leah again about what the process is, so we can see where some of the roadblocks are.
well, on the process of the topic of elected officials, I just happened to see in the Journal News over the weekend that my predecessor, David Buckwald, who's a state assemblyman from district in Westchester, announced that he's planning to run for Nita Lowey's seat.
Oh.
17 contestant, and I called him yesterday to wish him luck. And he was
Amy
happy.
Poland may also be.
Oh, okay, well, anyway, he said, you know, anything he could do for us here while he's in this position, if he could,
right,
winds
another
up
one
getting
to, because he was
elected.
on the council.
Yep.
He-
Yeah, and if there's anything that, you know, that can be done if he's lucky to win, he's also not gonna forget about where we are.
Well, he could do what Lisa just asked, and help get the pipeline and the streamline and the applications through.
I did mention that to him, maybe I'll send him an email about it.
I mean, that would be a good start, and then, you
All right,
know,
so
I'll send you all the
we'll send
names.
you
we
the
wish him
names.
the best of luck
Mhm.
on that. He's a good guy.
Mhm.
There'll be like 20, 30 people running for that seat. I'm sure.
Yep, I think you're right. Well, we only know Chelsea Clinton is not.
Yeah.
Right. So now, if he's gotten wider, more people will jump in.
Right. Right,
Anyway, that's great. He's a good guy, and does a good job.
okay, I'll send you the
We need
names
him
of
on the other
the,
stuff.
of the candidates.
Oh, well, I have a note here about when I was up at the Mount Kisco station yesterday. We were standing in front of the station building, and I'm looking around. I ride a lot of Metro North, but I don't always look at the station buildings. But because I was there for an hour and a half, I was looking at it, and I said, well, why isn't there a monitor or a sign that tells the people, you know, when the train is coming, so if they see,
Yeah.
if they get there and it's 8:06 and they see there's an 8:08 train, they might quicken their pace to go up there and make it. So Thomas Mitchell happened to be there, and he says, well, we have some extra of those signs, we'll see about putting one here.
Oh, sure.
So you can put that on your list, John,
I don't know.
on behalf of the council.
Let's see what gets that.
Well, I was at the White Plains Station yesterday morning. Yeah, yesterday morning when I rode up to, and the station looks very nice in White Plains.
Yeah, it's great.
And I learned something, you know, when I rode the last time I rode the Hudson Lake bus over there was the day of inaugurated service. Maybe did one more time, but I know that getting to the transit center stop was a real pain because you had to go past it, and then like 4 or 5 blocks east, then you had to go 2-3 blocks north, then you had to make a left turn, and finally come there. And it just added so much more time to it. But I was watching people get off when we came to this Bank Street station, which is like the first stop after you make the left turn from Central Avenue, from Route 119, you know that, Francis?
Yeah.
But, and people got off there. I said, wait, is this where, and I said, yeah, this is the easy way to get up there.
Yeah.
And you walk up, and that's what I did.
It's right a block
Yeah.
away, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was a good thing. That's where you ride, when you ride the trains and the buses,
You
you
cut through
learn
the parking
stuff.
lot, right?
Yeah, you learn stuff.
Yeah, it's right through the parking lot, that's right. And,
Yeah.
and it's really kind of really neat. It's kind of chic, that whole thing with the lighting that they have at all the different spots, and it's kind of cool.
Right,
But yeah, it's a long haul from one end to the other.
And the Tim Pitts is upstairs now while they're doing the construction. Okay, I got that, all right. So we're gonna talk about overcrowding on the New Haven line. Who knows about that?
you do.
That was that text that came?
Uh-huh. You had sent an email or text that somebody, expressed concern about crowding, maybe it was Walter, actually, Walter Zulik. Go to the New Haven line,
Yes,
and it was very crowded. And that's certainly
Yeah,
something
Walter,
that,
who's proposed for membership, used to work for Metro North. I think he lived over on the New Haven line in Harrison. Now that was on Hudson line. He was in the city with his wife and he ran into some people he knew and they complained about overcrowding on the trains. So I know that this,
Yeah, wondering if because it's the season for slip slide, they end up short cars, if that could
I don't
have played
think it
into it at all, or was before, was
it
it
was
more
like 2 weeks
August?
ago. This was like 2 weeks ago.
Oh, no, so that can be,
I think that the issue is something that Kathy and others have addressed.
yeah.
Is that there's the matinee trains, and I believe it was a Wednesday or a weekend. And it's not also on the Long Island Railroad, but the matinee trains are overcrowded. They don't have enough, they
Right,
don't
so
have
then
enough
from
cars.
the loading guidelines, tell you add another train in the
I
service.
think they said they were going to add, that was that at the last, do you recall, Randy, at the last board or committee meeting? That issue was raised. And that they were going to add an additional car on to the matinee train.
Long Island Road, you gotta add cars and there, you can't stay with cars.
Yeah.
So, but on the weekend, they run a full consist, don't they?
Yeah.
Do they-
It might be
they run-
Wednesday.
Huh?
Might be Wednesday.
Right, but thinking adding a car
No.
so that then they'd be walking through, I guess, longer than 5 times. Okay.
All right, so service alternative, so this would be for both sides of the Hudson. We had an incident where there was well, forget about this past weekend when some young fellow driving allegedly high rate of speed went over the overpass of Route 303 and landed on 304 rather, and landed on the Pascack Valley line track. There was no train involvement, and unfortunately 2 people got killed. And I was actually looking at the online journal news this morning, and there was a history of that family dying in the month of October in car crashes over the last 20 years.
Jeez.
Oh my God.
Say that again?
Yeah, history, I'll, when I get home, I'll send the article to you guys of that family. An older brother and someone else in that same family died in a car crash. About 20 years ago, I think his older brother was
I
killed
wouldn't get in a car with
in
him.
a school. They took a break from school to go to lunch, and I think there were 5 killed in the car.
Oh, that's terrible.
Yeah, it was very near where that happened. I will do that when I get home. So anyway, the service they ran was New Jersey Transit's responsibility, even though it was in New York. They stopped the service in Woodcliff Lake and ran a bus to Nanuet